Hi Virgo and welcome to your horoscope for 2025. Thanks for joining me. Please watch my horoscopes in this order: rising sign first, then sun sign, and then finally for your moon sign. So in this horoscope, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the retrogrades of the personal planets and which houses those occur in and how they'll influence you. Then I want to look at the 4 eclipses we have coming up in 2025. And then I also want to look at the 4 outer planets that are changing signs, which really is a big deal. The outer planets represent humanity and society, and they move very slowly. So for just one to change sign is significant, but for 4 of them to do that in 1 year is really significant. So I'll give you a rundown of what that means for you. And the way they're doing that is the same way Pluto changed signs in 2024. So it was in Capricorn since 2008. In January 2024, it moved into Aquarius, then retrograded back into Capricorn in September, October, and November, and then went back into Aquarius, where it will now stay until 2043. So it's a significant shift in the energy. And the outer planets in 2025, Neptune, Saturn, and Uranus are doing the same thing. And they're going to visit these new signs for a few months before they take up long-term residence in their new signs in 2026. So starting with the personal planets, Mercury, excuse me, that retrogrades either 3 or 4 times a year. In this year, it only retrogrades 3 times, and that's good for you as a Virgo because it's your chart ruler. So the first retrograde is on the 14th of March. Oh, and the plus sides of a Mercury retrograde is that you're able to see things from a different perspective and you're able to gain new insights. The downside is that it causes issues with communication and transportation, which becomes a little bit more labored and stifled. So the first one, 14th of March until the 7th of April, that takes place in your 8th house of institutions and the authorities and corporations and companies. And it sits in between Venus in Aries and Chiron in Aries. So that's a great opportunity for you to look at the connections you have with those kind of formal bodies and whether they still serve you. It then retrogrades into Pisces and it goes into your 7th house of relationships. So still in retrograde, watch out during that first one of the year that you may see relationships very differently. And in Pisces, it may be that you're overly forgiving and overly willing to throw in the towel or to compromise, even if you're in the right. So it's a good idea to judge those kind of circumstances on merit. And I would even say that that is the case for Mercury and Aries in your 8th. If you suddenly have a strong emotional reaction to some sort of group you belong to, wait until the planet goes direct again to make any big decisions around that. Then the second retrograde is on the 17th of July and it lasts until the 11th of August. And this time Mercury is in Leo and it's in your 12th house of spirituality, and that's a really good placement because your ruler is sitting in that 12th house. It means that you'll be very connected to the higher realms and you'll be very willing to receive messages either from your intuition or your guides or your angels, and they may give you specific insights into your career, or if you're not working, what you're working towards, that would really put you in a good position. The final retrograde is on the 9th of November and it lasts until the 29th of November. And this time it starts out in retrograde in Sagittarius in your 4th house and then retrogrades back over your IC into Scorpio in your 3rd house of communication. So again, the thing that you're able to evaluate then or see differently is the future of your most important relationships or the relationship you have with your home, which can be the actual building or the country that you live in, and whether you want to continue to maintain those moving forwards. And when it goes into Scorpio in your 3rd, again, it allows you to pinpoint what's really going on with other people and the way your relationships are. But also when it comes to what you do want to make or what you want to alter in future, what you're studying, where you live, what interests you. So the ruler Mercury doing this for you in 2025 asks you to really consider whether the things you rely on, it's kind of like the tower in the tarot, the things in your life that have become part of the furniture and that you don't really spend much time questioning or thinking about, and to look at that and to say, are these actual structures that serve me in any way, and do I want to maintain them? So there's an opportunity here to make changes which will give you a greater sense of freedom, and certainly you'll have a bigger sense of choice based on what you think is right and good and proper. The next planet, Venus. Venus is the planet of love and beauty and creativity. And whenever that retrogrades, I always recommend that it's not the best time to start a new business or to start a new relationship, because your perspective on what you love may be very different to what it is usually. And then once the planet goes direct again, it can be this uncomfortable moment of, what was I thinking? This isn't as good as I initially thought it would be. So the Venus retrograde, it only retrogrades once in the year, which is a good thing, but it happens on the 1st of March until the 12th of April, and it retrogrades again in your 8th house of institutions. And the question then is, do I have options when it comes to the way I create an income or the societies I belong to? Is there anything that I can do within that organization that would give me more freedom? Or is it even an option to do something on my own, independently of other people? So you're really thinking along the terms of not me versus them as such, but me in connection to this organization or group of people. Does it serve both of us? Is this something that's fair? Am I being rewarded for what I'm contributing? And if not, there's this wonderful confidence that I can make changes and I do have other options. I don't need to accept everything that is thrown at me. I would take notes and look at what comes up for you during the retrograde, and then start to implement those changes in earnest from the 13th of April onwards. Mars is the planet of masculinity and drive. It's ambition, it's what you're not willing to compromise on, and that's currently in retrograde. It's been in retrograde from the 6th of December 2024, and it stays in retrograde until the 23rd of February 2025. So usually with Mars retrograde, anything that requires a lot of energy or drive or focus tends to ease off. And in your case, it's in Cancer, in your 11th house of hopes and dreams. So that's wonderful in the sense that you're willing to take care of yourself. You're willing to kind of respect your own pace in the process. And you're not so driven on having everything completed immediately. It's kind of a time where you can recharge your energy levels. And then again, when the planet goes forward, it's going to become much easier to implement your ideas and your plans for the future without struggling. So if you can time things in a particular way, I think the beginning of 25 until the 23rd of February is a wonderful opportunity to self-care, to reflect, to contemplate, to meditate if that's something you're doing. We all have a different way of connecting, right? Some of us listen to music, other people go out into nature, and that gives them a sense of belonging and warmth. And the key is to find whatever version of that works for you and to build that into your everyday until kind of the end of February. So let's look at the eclipses next then. On the 13th or 14th of March, depending on your location, we have a lunar eclipse, and that's a full moon in Virgo, so it's in your sign, and it takes place in your first house of self. It opposes the sun in Pisces in your 7th house of relationships. So again, the thing that is being questioned, and Virgo, you guys are very good at, well, I'm included in that, very good at taking a lot of information, breaking it down, making sense of it, and coming up with your own answer. So far, the theme that has come up a lot is, are certain relationships healthy and helpful in my life? Or am I giving my energy away to situations and people and circumstances which are actually toxic and which minimize myself and my levels of freedom? So with that said, I would really consider anything that restricts you or is very unforgiving, and your role within that group or within that one person, be very reluctant to sign up to those kind of things and to say yes and to try and keep other people happy. It's important to look out for your own best interest. eclipses always come in twos, and they're always new moons or full moons. And because the process is interrupted, the energy lingers for 6 months, and you're able to use that to your advantage during that time. So with this first one, until August, September, I really don't think you're going to have a lot of problem determining which relationships are worth your time and effort and which ones aren't. Then the second one on the 29th of March, that's a new moon in Aries, and that is a solar eclipse. So the moon is your heart, the sun is your head. And this one is, again, in Aries, in your 8th house of institutions, and it's next to Chiron, the transiting midheaven, and Mercury, your ruler. So this pulls a lot of energy in, again, not just on this day, but for the next 6 months, that is going to encourage you to say, listen, if I'm not appreciated in a particular situation, what can I do on my own which would allow me to use my skills and talents, but which would also give me the freedom to choose and to make changes as and when I please. So this whole process is about you, Virgo, becoming more of a free spirit and no longer allowing yourself to kind of be restricted and hemmed in by other people's agendas or needs. Then the second lots of eclipses, they start in September. So the first one is on the 7th of September, and that's a full moon in Pisces, and it's a lunar eclipse. So again, it's about your heart. And that moon in Pisces is in your 7th house of relationships, lit up by your sun. It's around your birthday time, in Virgo in your 1st house of self. So now it's again your personal relationships, but also relationships in work and how you see that future panning out. So please trust your own gut here in 2025, Virgo. You're going to be the person who can come up with answers for yourself. And whether you agree with this or not, no one is going to be as interested in your well-being and in your experience of life as you are. So make sure that you support yourself in that. The second eclipse in September is on the 21st, and that is a new moon in Virgo, and it's a solar eclipse. And again, it's in your 1st house of self. So the fact that we have in March, we have a full moon in Virgo. In September, we have a new moon in Virgo, and that both of those are eclipses. I think this is kind of your year where you're able to stand your ground, you're able to make the right decisions, and your life is going to benefit as a result of that. You can find more freedom, more comfort, but more of a sense that what I want is now showing up in my life. Moving on to the outer planets, on the 30th of March until the 22nd of October, we've got Neptune in Aries, and it moves out of Pisces, where it has been in your 7th house of relationships, which could have made you somewhat forgiving when it comes to not being treated exactly as you should be, and saying, do you know what, I don't want the trouble, I'm not going to challenge this. And it now moves into Aries in your in your 8th house of those institutions. And the way I see this coming across is that your imagination is really going to start going into overdrive as to how can I, one, make my own hopes and dreams a reality by using my own energy, but how can I set up something on my own? So whether it's a business or a charity or a similar way of working, but what you do is you become willing to dream again. Neptune is the water planet of dreams and intuition. So anything that is an unfulfilled desire will be at the forefront of your mind. And the shift of it is also significant because Neptune, as one of the outer planets, moves incredibly slowly. It takes 165 years to go through all 12 signs of the zodiac, and it spends about 13 to 14 years in each sign. So that's going to serve you not just here in the 2020s, but even into 2030s. And you're going to become far less willing to accept circumstances which put you last or which marginalize you or dismiss you. So Neptune represents this invisible net that connects us as human beings in a society. And in Aries, on a more impersonal level, what we'll notice is that there's going to be real innovation in the field of arts and creativity and healing. And this is the period, March to October, where try and get a sense of what is it that I can do on my own that I'm really excited about? Because then it does go retrograde back into Pisces until the end of the year, and it will then return to Aries in 2026. So the content you come up with in 2025 is going to be really influential in what you do in 26 and 27. On the 24th of May to the 1st of September 2025, we've got Saturn going into Aries. And Saturn has also been in Pisces in your 7th house of relationships. And that is, Saturn is security and structure. It rules Capricorn, the sign of the worker. So it makes sense, right? If I work really hard, then I'm putting the foundation in place. I build the house on it and I feel safe and secure. But in your 7th, again, it would have been that sense of I'm powerless in certain relationships to change them. And I just have to put up with things. And it joins your 8th house then in Aries, and it means that things flip by 180. And I feel it's not that you're going to isolate yourself or feel like you're alone on an island, but you really start to think of, I could do this better possibly. Or if I do something on my own, I would have a better time. And possibly even if you're trying to start an organization or a charity or a business, this is the way I would treat the people who work for me, and I'm not going to take advantage, or I'm not going to be, someone who tries to minimize others so that I can do well. Kind of like the Seven of Swords in the Tarot. So Saturn is also an outer planet, so it moves slowly, but it's quicker than Neptune. It takes about 28 to 29 and a half years to go around the zodiac and to return to where it was when you were born. It's called a Saturn return in a natal chart. And I always feel that's the most important thing that can happen in the astrology, because Saturn is really the astrological head teacher, which wants you to live your true life purpose and not to compromise yourself. So with it taking 29 years, it stays in each sign of the zodiac for about 2.5 to 3 years. So you have access to this now for the next 3 years. And if you're someone who struggles to assert themselves, the next 3 years aren't going to be an issue in that regard. Also, if you think about how this affects society, we had Saturn in Aries in 1967 to 1969, and that was a period of huge societal upheaval of people saying, do you know, I don't want to follow the old rules, the way things were done in the 40s and 50s. I want to have more freedom in my life. But it also was a time where there was real conflict and war, because Aries is ruled by Mars. So on a personal level, you're able to fight your battles, so to speak, and to feel justified in doing that. But in terms of society, there may even be more conflict. And that makes sense. If everyone's feeling like that for themselves, people are going to become less tolerant of being mistreated. On the 9th of June 2025 until the 29th of June 2026, Jupiter is in Cancer. Now, this outer planet changing sign isn't as significant because it's the fastest of the outer planets. Jupiter only takes 12 years to go around all the signs in the zodiac. And again, if you were born with Jupiter in a particular sign and 12 years later it returns, your Jupiter return, I always feel those are particularly lucky years. This one moves out of Gemini in your 10th house of work, where it supported you in finding other options. But now it goes into Cancer in your 11th house of hopes and dreams at 9 degrees. And it says, do you know what? Let me, again, allow myself to dream and allow myself to consider what seems impossible, but which actually isn't. And I think you apply your practical outlook to saying, I'm allowed to take care of myself and I'm allowed to dream the impossible dream. And the great thing about this is anything that is unlikely to become real is actually supported by Jupiter, in the sense that the impossible, or the seemingly impossible, becomes possible. I would encourage you to dream as big as possible from June onwards and to pay attention to what comes up from within, because if you then pursue those kind of desires, you're likely to have a good outcome. So Virgo, for you, it looks like an incredibly empowering year where things come back to life. Your own inner world becomes far more fired up, and you have the kind of compassion for yourself to say, if this is something that I want, And if this is something that I feel would take care of me, I'm going to actually pursue it regardless of what anyone else thinks. So it's breaking free from restriction and moving into this place of infinite opportunity. And then finally, on the 7th of July until the 7th of November, we've got Uranus, the planet of the miraculous and unexpected. That moves out of Taurus and into Gemini. And in your case, it was in Taurus in your 9th house. So that may have really inspired you to move locations or to study something new. And Uranus moves very slowly as well. It takes 84 years to go around the entire zodiac. So it's in each sign for 7 years. So think back on the last 7 years. Have you signed up for a ton of different courses and then got bored and moved on to something else? Or have you moved house a ton of times? Hello. With it going into Gemini, it now moves into your 10th house of career. And remember, Uranus is really the chaotic, the miraculous, the unexpected. This could have never happened. So it kind of echoes the sentiment of Jupiter in your 11th. And the next 7 years here, with you having Uranus and Gemini in your 10th house of career, I think a lot of Virgos are going to have a 7-year period where they're really delighted with the way their work is going. And again, if you're not working, if you're a student or working towards something, you're going to be surprised at how much wonderful energy you're able to put into it and how many positive, unexpected external influences make that even more rewarding and make it even better. So Uranus rules Aquarius. It's associated with technology and the unpredictable and ultimately change. So with this placement, we're going to see a lot of technological advances over the next 7 years. Of course, that includes things like AI, social media, but we're getting a taste of it here in 2025. On the 7th of November, it retrogrades back into Taurus until the end of the year. And then in 2026, it's going to stay in Gemini. So you really have a lot to look forward to as far as your working life is concerned. And there'll be a lot more momentum and a lot of positive change. So I hope that gives you an idea of what you'll be working with here in 2025. I hope you're excited about it. I am. If you'd like a personal reading with me, please get in touch via my website. It's gregoryscott.com. To order your reading, click on the shop tab. In my personal readings, I use astrology, the tarot, numerology, and my intuition. I combine them all. As a Virgo, I like a lot of information. So if you have any questions around your life purpose, your love life, finances, spiritual development, friendships, moving, education, anything at all, please do get in touch for a personal reading. I need your place of birth, date of birth, and time of birth to draw up your natal chart. If you don't have the time of birth, then please order a chart rectification with me. That's a process where you send me 10 or more significant life events, and I can actually work out your time of birth. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, please. Subscribe for more videos in future, and please share this with anyone you think may like this video. And I also do a daily tarot reading on my channel. If you'd like to watch that, then please do become a member of the channel. Have a wonderful year, and I will speak to you fortnightly for the new moons and the full moons, the monthly horoscopes, and the other videos that I do. So watch this space. Have a great 2025, and I'll speak to you soon.